Hello everyone!
Hello everyone!
Welcome back. Now this one's kind of like a follow-up to our last video. Our last video was like top 10 first aid stuff.
Right, things you're going to need in case of an emergency.
Over-the-counter medications.
In case of an emergency. Things you might not think about stocking up on, but you really should have, so it's kind of a reminder. One thing I want to say right away for a disclosure is we are not medical professionals. We're not a doctor. This is not medical advice.
We're not nurses. We're not medics.
Right. We're showing you what we have and how we are prepared and what we think is just, common sense advice to people, but again, not medical advice. We're not doctors, so don't take it for all that. But
oh, exactly. Okay. But I have seen a lot of channels with doctors and nurses and medics, and they tend to go in a little bit detail. They'll spend a half hour on one subject, which is fine if you're going to be doing procedures in a hospital, things like that. We're talking about our homestead. We've got 30 acres here. There's hundreds of acres going out this way. So what if something happened and we need to take action right now, and then hopefully there's hospitals going to be open, an ER going to be, you know.
So these are things you should have just for an emergency. In the fact, we're 20 miles away from the closest hospital, so we're going to want to make sure we have ways to stop bleeding, have a tourniquet, that type of thing, because we're not going to be able to get, if you need an ambulance, it's not going to get here immediately. It's going to take a little while, or if you need to go somewhere, it's going to take a little while.
Right.
So there's some common sense things you should always have on hand.
And I'd say in no particular order, but first thing is, want to make sure your hands are clean before you assess the situation, whatever that is. If you don't have hand sanitizer, which we talk about in every video because you got to keep your hands clean. Gloves, you need to have a box of gloves. This is really important. You got to have gloves. And let's say, for example, we're going to be doing something because there's a lot of red stuff involved.
Right.
Yeah, and I know you don't like to deal with any of that stuff.
Exactly. So I definitely don't want to get it on my hands.
So you definitely want surgical gloves, basic.
You want to protect yourself. You want to protect the person that you're working with.
So that's very important that you have that. I guess that would be number one, and that'd be the category of washing your hands. If you had time, throw on some gloves. If you don't.
Also, you've got some antiseptic wipes there. That would be one of the very first things as well. Clean off your hands with an antiseptic wipe if you needed to, just so you're not spreading germs.
Exactly. Just common sense stuff, but this is kind of the area of, we're not just a basic first aid kit, which you see we have here, which is full of Band-Aids, antiseptic ointment and things of that nature.
This is kind of one step above what you should just have in a standard first aid kit. Now, every home should have a standard first aid kit, and everyone in the home should know where that first aid kit is. That's very important to have that. But this is kind of what over and above you're going to need if something that requires more than just a Band-Aid.
Right. So the first thing is, I guess the second thing would be, if we were going in order, which we're not, would be assessing the situation and then figure out what needs to be done. Usually if there's like something minor, maybe there's an allergy. Benadryl would take care of things right away. Let's say they're allergic to something, even like a bee sting. I know there's something specific for like bee sting and like peanut butter allergies.
Right. People may need their particular medicine.
Right.
But we're talking just generic. If you have something from your doctor, by all means, that's what you're going to want first. And those people are going to know what they need. Yeah.
Exactly. But since we're on the next category, so Benadryl is very important to have around the house. And this is like important. It could be an allergy attack and the meds that they have aren't working. Okay, something could have triggered it and they're just going crazy. This does help, believe it or not, but it does make you tired. So, and these two kind of go together, Advil and Tylenol. And my sister is a trauma nurse, so I hear all types of things, what you need, what you don't need. So she says these three meds you need to have for even trauma situations. You need them right away. Advil kind of gets down, it helps the swelling and the pain, and you need to know, does this person, and if they're on your household, you'll know, are they on any blood thinners, things of that nature. Then Tylenol would be your second best bet to help with pain and kind of get the swelling down. I don't know if you can help me with that, going from there.
Yeah. Well, and basically start getting a pain reliever right away if it's something simple. And then now we're going to talk about something that's, if it's a little more dramatic. So one of the things that we have in here that people probably don't think about is a tourniquet. Important that you learn how to use a tourniquet, because if something were to happen, let's just say we talk about a situation where the power's gone out and you're fending for yourself type of thing, and let's just say you're not used to being chopping down wood in the woods and you have a chainsaw accident, unfortunately, or you're just using an axe and you have an accident of some sort. Important to know how to use the tourniquet. That's going to be your first line of defense before you can get someone to a hospital.
And this is going under the category of trauma, because this would be trauma, something very bad. If you need to slow the blood flow to the limb, you definitely need a tourniquet. You can get these on Amazon. You can get these in a lot of medical places if you're in a big city. If you're in a rural area like us, you had to go online to get this. So you need to have a tourniquet.
Right. And this is a situation where, like you just said, this isn't readily available in our area, so we already have it. So go back to what I always say. It's better to be prepared and not need it than need it and not be prepared. All of these things I'm planning on never using. I don't want to ever have to use any one of these. But if we do need them, we have it. So it's just a little investment to make to have what you need if you might need it at some point. I will never use a tourniquet.
What
if I had to? It's there.
What if I was real hurting and I'm bleeding out? What are you going to do?
Right, in an emergency, you're going to rise to the occasion and do what you have to.
You don't like blood and stuff, do you?
Oh, I don't. No. But you're going to rise to the occasion and do what you have to do.
Really important to have. That's something people aren't talking about. And see here where it says time. This is a military grade style tourniquet. It has a time here. You need to know what time you put the tourniquet on, so when you get to the hospital or the ambulance gets here, whatever help that is, they need to know when this went on. And I can't give you more detail why, because it could cause more damage. I don't know. So it's important that you write the time. You have something to write. Like a
so
marker,
you have a base timeline.
Like a black marker or something.
You want to assess the situation and have a base timeline of how long the situation has been happening.
So, first thing, of course, you got to clean the wound, whatever that is, and alcohol. Got to have plenty of alcohol.
You want rubbing alcohol and you want hydrogen peroxide.
Peroxide.
Keep in mind, this is going to hurt. This is going to be painful. Alcohol on a wound is painful, but it's also going to kill anything. So you want to assess this situation. Like I'd mentioned, if you had, unfortunately, like a chainsaw accident, so that chainsaw blade is going to have oil on it, it's going to have wood chips on it. That cut is going to be dirty. That's a cut where maybe you're going to use this type on it. Even though it's going to hurt, those cuts are going to be dirty. Well, let's say you're cutting something and you unfortunately had, the knife was rusty or things like that. You're going to need a tetanus shot as soon as possible. But again, this is going to hurt, but it's going to clean it. Hydrogen peroxide is going to work as well. It's not going to hurt as bad. And for just a standard cut, cleaning it out, you can clean it out with some hydrogen peroxide as well.
Exactly, but you need to have both.
Right.
Okay, you need to have alcohol and you need to have peroxide on hand. So please have plenty of that for emergencies and for just everyday use.
Right.
Okay, so let's say something is not as bad as a tourniquet, okay? But there is a deep cut, lots of blood. First thing you got to do is you have to have bandages. I can't stress this enough.
Yep, gauze and bandages. You got some flexible bandage there.
You got to have
gauze.
Tons of gauze.
Band-aids in here.
Here's gauze rolls. You got to have a bunch of gauze, because sometimes the bleeding is, and you got to change that constantly until you get help or get to the ER. And with this is 4x4s, a huge pack. We got a bunch of these, and these rolls are really good too. You should have both on hand.
Right.
And
keep in mind now, you want to show them surgical scissors. These are surgical scissors that are designed so the way they're designed to cut the gauze like that, or cut the tape as you're putting it on there. Just make it more of an angle for you to make it easier for you to cut, because you're going to be in a situation where maybe you haven't done this before and you want to have it as easily as possible to be done. So this is a good thing to have as well, the surgical scissors. With the gauze then too, remember you need to have your tape. We have a couple of different types of athletical tape here, because the gauze, you're going to want to tape that on. You're going to be putting pressure on it and taping that on. So you want to do that. And again, these are temporary measures until you can get to a medical facility where you can get them taken care of. But these are something that you should just have, if again there was some type of emergency where you couldn't get out, or again this just something that happened and you're farther away from any medical facility then.
Oh yeah, very much so. And it's really important to stay calm, because you get that adrenaline rush. If blood doesn't bother you or accidents don't bother you, and even though you're not a medical professional, you have to stay calm. You have to kind of like slow your breathing and just focus on the task at hand.
Right, and assess the situation.
Right, if you can't stay calm, you cannot help them properly. So do yourself a favor, focus on your breath, focus on what you're doing, ignore everything else, just focus on that and do it correctly and stay calm. That's the biggest thing is
Right.
people panic. And I have some training in this, so I know about panic.
Panic
And
right.
panic,
Control breathing.
hyperventilating
Um,
and freaking out is not good. You have to help them to calm down, so you need to be calm to do
Right.
that.
And so what we should talk about too is we just talked about assessing the situations. There's a couple of basic things you can do to assess the situation and make sure things aren't getting worse. One of the things is being able to take someone's temperature, because while we're talking about what could be some type of traumatic accident, it also could just be something else happening where it's a flu or a fever or things like that. And you need to know, is that fever breaking? Is it getting worse? So one thing we really like to have is just a real easy, basic digital thermometer. So you can assess the situation. Again, that goes back to assessing the situation. Real easy to use one of these. I always want to have one of these on hand. Again, because you can tell if the fever is getting worse, if the fever is broken. Very important to know when you're assessing the situation. And again, this is for maybe when you just can't get to medical attention right away.
And this is a shout out. There's a few things that I will mention, and I will promise that my trauma nurse sister is going to say, you have to have this. This is the number one thing in the bag. Why she said that's number one thing, checking the temperature? I don't know.
To
but
assess the situation, right?
sometimes the temperature does kind of dictate what's going on.
Right,
And
right.
for you nurses and medical people and doctors and such, you'll understand what that means.
Which, like we said, is not us. So
So we'll continue with this, but I'm
Right.
just going to take a little detour here. It's hunting season here in Wisconsin, so if you hear gunshots, that's what's going on. Okay, this is a pulse oximeter, and you remember this, give me your finger. And you, I'm not
Can I pull
pulling
my
it.
finger?
No, don't go there. Save it for 20 years,
Anyway.
So this goes on there after, should maybe 30 seconds, 45 seconds, something like less than a minute. If you're, probably a minute, if I remember correctly. If it's 90, below 90, you're not getting enough oxygen within a minute. So these are real inexpensive. You can get these at Walgreens anywhere,
Yep.
even on Amazon or online. That's important to have.
And again, find out for yourself what you need to do as far as what is, appropriate. Because again, that's not something that I'm familiar with. So before I was using this, I would make sure that I research on that to find that out.
Right, and again, this is the trauma nurse telling me everybody should have this, even if they don't know how to use it. So pull it out and just practice on each other. It's real simple. Same thing for a blood pressure kit. This is really the gift for the trauma nurse, but we have a digital one. It's inside. Sorry, I forgot. I'm not perfect. How come you forgot? You're being quiet. Exactly, huh?
Wasn't me.
So, taking their blood pressure, and the general rule is 120 over 80. That's what you're looking for, or close to those numbers. So that's kind of, it's important to understand the basics.
Right. Right. And
So-
then, I don't know, we haven't talked yet about, like here, we've got it's called a polyantibiotic ointment. So again, an antibiotic ointment's going to help if you've got an open cut and it's a smaller cut. You want to address that right away. Like I said, let's just say you need to get a tetanus shot, you can't get to the hospital right away. You want to address these things right away. Get that medical attention as soon as possible also, but you want to make sure that you have this as kind of your first line of defense.
Right, and it's important that it has bacitracin in there, zinc. It's something about the strength, and it really does get in there and start working right away. So we have two different types. Again, you can get this any your what are they, Walgreens, what do they call it?
Okay,
QVC.
pharmacy,
Yeah, pharmacy. Any your local pharmacy.
drugstore,
And
five and dime,
five and dime
Walgreens.
dollar stores.
No, remember in the old days the drugstores were called the five and dime drugstores. I don't know.
And sometimes somebody is severely allergic to stuff out in the woods. We're in the woods, so cortisone 10. If they start itching, and they'll be itching like crazy. I've seen people dig into themselves and they're not realizing that, and now all of a sudden they opened up a wound. So cortisone, lots of these cream needs to be on hand as well. That's really important. And the last thing for this type of stuff is, this is called Aquaphor. This is for burn gels. If you want to elaborate on that a little bit.
Sure, yeah. So same thing, if you were to get a burn, let's just say again, I'm talking about like a situation where, it's the electric's out, something like that, and maybe you've built like a rocket stove that we've talked about in the past. Okay?
Yes, the
You
rocket
could,
stove.
unfortunately, you could also burn yourself because that's something you're not used to working with. So for a minor burn, this is something that's going to help take care of that as well. Again, you're going to always try to seek medical attention, but a minor burn, you can use something like this for.
And believe it or not, this is one of the things that was on the list of the trauma nurse said you need to have Aquaphor on hand, so for burns. So,
Right.
have plenty of that.
And then also, so make sure that you have a small medical bag that you can take with you. Very important. Like I have one like these, and I have a 4-wheeler, and it's got like some bags on it, and this is in there all the time because you just don't know what's going to happen with a 4-wheeler. A 4-wheeler, you could have an accident. You could be going on a trail, and maybe a tree has fallen that you didn't know had fallen before, or maybe while you're going, a tree could fall. You know, I'm not going to tell a tragic story, but we had a tragic story of a friend's loss.
Yeah.
But on a 4-wheeler, and so you want to make sure that you have these basic things, as many as you can, in a pack with you when you're on your 4-wheeler, even when you're out hiking in the woods, because you just don't know what could happen.
And a lot of
You
this
wanna be
stuff here,
prepared.
you can take them out of their packages and pack it into this. And this should be
And your gauze
plenty
and
of
stuff,
room.
I'd put it like in a
Your
Ziploc bag
gauze,
to keep
tape.
it
Oh, exactly.
keep it safe, you know, from any other contamination. But
And these little things, they don't take up a lot of space. You take them out of little boxes, and you can fit a lot of them in the side pockets. And it's important you know your bag. When you create your bag, and I say create because it's your bag and you know what's in there and how you packed it. And also pack it, the least important things are on the bottom. The things that you need to grab right away need to be at the top so you have time, because time is of the essence for this type of stuff.
Right.
Again, we're hoping it'll never go to trauma, but something still bad that needs to get taken care of right now. That's kind of in the middle, not like a little, oh, got a little scrape, so here's a Band-Aid.
right.
This is all stuff that's more than
right.
just...
This is kind of like every home should have a first aid kit. Everyone should know where that first aid kit is. Then after you have your first aid kit, these are things that you're going to need over and above that. And again, you hope that you're never going to use these things, but you have them if you do need to use them.
Yeah, and you got a neat little packed first aid kit
Right.
in this little bag. You must have got it from like some hikers or some
Right,
hunting
right.
one, and it's in your bug out bag in the car. Now we
Right.
will do a video about that in the future, about having a bag. What if you're at work, okay, you're half hour from home, for example, and all of a sudden something happens, there's no power, cars aren't going. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. If you're driving a half hour, imagine that walk. So you need to have all those things in
Hand
that
warmers,
bag.
that type of thing.
Hand
I have
warmers,
those, we'll
water,
video about
etc.
that.
So we'll go over
Yeah.
and do a video about that.
One of the things that's also in my bag that's in my 4-wheeler that people don't think about is a small emergency air horn. Because what happens if you flip over your 4-wheeler and say, unfortunately, you have an incident where maybe you have a broken leg or something and you can't get back on that 4-wheeler and move, but you know there's people somewhere near, you can use that small air horn and people can find you. Right. The compressed air one is what's in my 4-wheeler.
Right, and I have a
right.
loud whistle that will hurt your ears when you blow into that whistle,
Right.
really loud, but it is loud, and if you keep blowing in that whistle, somebody's going to hear that and say, hey, that's not right, somebody needs help. So
so if people at rescues are looking for you, or like we said, we have the 30 acres here, but we're close enough to other things that you could hear that compressed air horn if I had to need that in an emergency.
Oh, exactly. So that should be with you at all times, or in your first aid kit, or on a backpack that you can take with you. So I don't want to forget about this. There are times where even just a slight sprain, a finger, a wrist, an ankle, especially an ankle, because you're putting all your
Right,
weight on it.
right.
Those
And
are
wrap.
so bad. We have all types of wraps. This used to happen to me when I was a little younger, when I was active and doing stuff and playing sports and
Right.
skiing and stuff. All of a sudden you take that boot off at the ski hill. Oh, if you hurt your ankle, goodness.
Yeah, and like you said, a small sprain can be wrapped up, and then you can prevent further injury to what could already be just a small sprain.
So, got to have lots of ACE bandages in your medic kit and available just in your home kit as well.
So let us know what you have in your home kit. I'm hoping that this video gave you some reminders and some ideas. That's what this is a lot about. Yes, this is a lot of obvious information, but a lot of information that people, for some reason, just sometimes take for granted, and they don't think about doing that. So again, as I say, if you liked it, hey, hit the subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. Watch some of our other videos, and also
smash that like button. All right, everybody, I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thank you for watching, or a wonderful evening if you're watching at night. And have a happy Thanksgiving if you're in the U.S., because we're less than a week away.
A couple of days, yeah.
It's very
6
close.
days.
So this is just a friendly reminder. You need to have stuff more than just Band-Aids. Everybody talks about these little things, but all these things are kind of the next level. It's some serious stuff that you need to get to the hospital or something for. We won't do a trauma one because trauma is more, I think doctors, nurses, professional medics,
Right.
EMTs, they can give you more specifics. I don't think I would want to go
and
there.
like I said, we're not medical professionals, we're not nurses, we're just telling you some common sense things that we have for our preparedness, that we think everybody should have for their preparedness. Learning just some basic first aid things. You can watch a lot of videos on YouTube on basic first aid, just to help until you can get that help. Because like I said, you might be quite a ways away from where you can get help. So you want to be able to be ready until you can get that help. By all means, if you have a serious thing, you need to get to the hospital or get an ambulance to you right away. But we're not always in a situation where we can get that right away. So hoping we're helping some people.
Yeah, and one of the most important things is if you go hiking or camping or off venturing for the day even, take your meds. If you're on medication, prescriptions from a doctor, do yourself a favor, take them with you. Oh, I'll take those tonight when I get home. Don't think that. What if you're delayed for some reason? What if a snowstorm or something happened and you were whatever? I mean, just be prepared. Take your stuff.
Our videos
we're
are all
lucky.
about being prepared.
Oh yeah, we want to be prepared. We want to be smart. We want to be prepared because we'll never need this stuff because we're prepared for it. Right?
Exactly.
And on that note, cheers. All right, take care, everybody. Bye.